Come on in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. I'm Miss Cheesecake, and you are now in the Poetic Clinic. Let's chat. Come on in, have a seat, kick back, relax, and rest your feet as we dive into the mental avenues you may feel are your defeat. But at the end of the day, it's my treat to have you in my seat as we dive off into the things I like to call a mental feast. Push your pride aside and your emotions in it as we take a ride down to the Poetic Clinic. Let me stamp in your mental passport as we travel to lands beyond. Things that you thought were your last resort, I will help you define and continue to be your support, poetically and prophetically lifting you up. The mental aspects of poetry that overflows your cup, diving into the deeper aspects and channel yourself, healing, feeling, and validating yourself through the mental chemistry, spiritual ministry, and poetry. Right here at the Poetic Clinic with your favorite dessert, real solid, no debates, with your mental poetic vibes with Miss Cheesecake. Let's dive into the trauma, the pain, resentment, and fear. You might get a few laughs and definitely will shed a few tears. But no worries, I got your back and your front too. As we dive into the psychological passages of what you've been through. So make yourself comfortable, have a seat on the couch, and trust and believe I'll hold your hand through it. And that's a word of mouth with your favorite dessert. Straight to the point, no debates. In the Poetic Clinic with your girl, Miss Cheesecake. Well, good evening, all you lovely souls out there. It's your favorite dessert, Miss Cheesecake. We are here with episode 2, season 2 of the Poetic Clinic. Today's discussion is fibromyalgia. For those that don't know what fibromyalgia is, let me explain. Fibromyalgia is a chronic condition characterized by widespread pain, fatigue, and other symptoms. Symptoms: widespread pain in multiple body regions, neck, back, shoulders, hips, legs, sleep disturbances, cognitive problems, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, sensitivity to light, noise, and temperature, headaches, muscle stiffness, anxiety and depression, and a host of other things that we're going to get into. Today, actually, we have a very, very special guest. And we're getting ready to bring her up right now, Dr. Michelle NATHALIA. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you, Miss Cheesecake, for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for being here. Um, why don't you tell the listeners and the viewers out there what it is that you do?
Okay, well, I am, as you said, I call myself Dr. Michelle. That is my name. I'm saying I'm calling myself, right? I don't have a cool name like Miss Cheesecake, but you're making me think that I probably should do something like that. I am a certified school psychologist, a licensed school psychologist. I've been a school psychologist since 2001, and I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I have been a licensed marriage and family therapist since about 2018 or 2019.
Nice. That's great work right there. And I know it's challenging to deal with a lot of those different cases, but you make it through. You do what you got to do.
Absolutely. I call it my life's work. So
There you go. Well, shout out to that. I think that it's beautiful that you do the work that you do because a lot of people struggle mentally, especially children, in as well as adults. But I know the children have a harder time articulating what it is that they're experiencing. So, my question to you is like, what are one of the things that you do to like kind of ease up the tension to get people to be more expressive about their mental health?
Yeah, so definitely. So I have I would say organization or a company that we call Prayer and Prozac, and I work that. My business partner is Dr. Shari Ponder. She is a licensed professional counselor. She has also worked as a school counselor for many years, and she is also has her divinity, I believe it's divinity degree from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. But we work together. We call our company Prayer and Prozac, and we are not, I have to make this disclaimer, we are not a representative for the company or the drug Prozac. It is just a generic name to really talk about the understanding of how we approach the healing of mental health, which is, we believe, is through prayer, the taking care of the spiritual side of who we are, as well as Prozac, meaning your Prozac can be an actual pill, or your Prozac can be something to take care of the body. So we have this full understanding that mental health and mental wellness is just not one component, right? It's not just the spirit. It's not just the body, that if I just take this medicine, I will be okay, and all my problems will be solved. But that mental health and mental wellness is a working together and a collaboration between our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And our spirits being, what is our connection to God, our God? We consider our God. Both Shari and I happen to be girls that grew up in the church. So we understand what that journey is about. But we also have this understanding that you can't pray away certain things.
Right.
No, you can't pray away, in the church or in the spiritual world. Everything is not a demon.
That's
Some
right.
things need to be dealt with, and that is the Prozac part. So that's how we have this marriage between prayer and Prozac.
That's dope. I love the concept and love what y'all do. And I definitely look forward to hearing more about what you guys do and diving into like the different programs and stuff that you guys participate in as well.
Absolutely.
So excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Um, what we're going to kind of dive into, guys, is the connection of childhood trauma, and how it progresses in adulthood and turns into possible fibromyalgia. Is there a connection to the fibromyalgia and dementia slash Alzheimer's? So I wanted to ask you that question. I know that's a loaded question, but
Right. It is, when we talk about trauma, so trauma is, right, the buzzword that, it is the buzzword that we hear a lot. We hear a lot about trauma in our society, and it's been given a name, and it has been given a thought, and that is trauma. And what trauma just really means wound, right? That's trauma. It's the terminology for it's a wound, right? So when we say we've had trauma, that means we've been wounded. People have been wounded in a certain way. And when we think about trauma, we really think about it from a mental and a psychological and an emotional experience. And there's all types of trauma. And I think our society is filled with trauma.
absolutely.
When we talk about childhood trauma, and I have mentioned to you before, we have to consider generational traumas. What are generational traumas from one generation to the next, inflicting pain onto the next generation because we have never resolved our own experiences. So we inflict it onto the next generation. So that's what for me is important when we talk about trauma, is defining it. And trauma is the emotional, right, reaction to what has happened to us.
Right.
So that would be the first thing, is to define what trauma is. And trauma is the emotional reaction, the mental reaction to what has happened to us, the wound of what has happened to us. So that's trauma. Now tell me the second part of what that question was.
Okay. So childhood trauma, and then the childhood trauma being like the foundation of possible fibromyalgia?
Absolutely. So, and I know that we're focusing right on fibromyalgia being that, and so let's define fibromyalgia too. So fibromyalgia is a condition, a medical condition that really impacts the central nervous system, right? And it can impact us to the way where we hurt. And as was mentioned earlier, the hurting, your body is responding to sensory experiences. It could be, some people, it could be sunlight. Some people, it's not necessarily sunlight. It's, artificial light. It could be the negative response to sound. Sound can cause our eardrums to hurt. It can, cause our weather. We feel fibromyalgia, those people who present with that medical condition tend to feel sensory wise, physically, an event in a way that is amplified. Mm-hmm. A person would feel sunlight, would feel good to them. Those rays can feel very difficult to someone presenting with fibromyalgia, especially if there's a flare up, right? And there are some people who believe that fibromyalgia isn't just about the central nervous system. Some people believe that it's also about inflammation within the body, meaning that it could be an autoimmune disease. There are some people tinkering on that, but it does affect the central nervous system. So when we talk specifically about fibromyalgia, but I'd like to broaden it to any medical condition. Absolutely, there is a connection between childhood trauma and medical conditions later on in life. Those things, trauma impacts our body, stress, violence, whether it's physical or emotional or mental, violence. Those are all traumas. Neglect, addictions, abandonment, death, poverty, all those things are trauma, right? And there's even research to show that children who live and reside in inner cities where there's chronic violence every day, their brain, the mental composition of their brain resembles children who are born into war, into war-torn countries. We're living through seeing what's going on in the Gaza Strip with Palestinians. That's trauma. Absolutely. To those people. The war that's going on with just those things are trauma, poverty, those things. And it does have a connection on how it impacts our immune system. Trauma it suppresses our immune system. It suppresses our ability to protect ourselves, right? It suppresses our ability to have our body heal itself. And when we are in chronic situations, even acute trauma, right? So acute trauma can be something that happens to me one time in my life. It's acute, maybe the sudden death of someone. Those things are what, there are many examples of acute, but that's one of them. Many people sustain the sudden death, right? Or a period of time where there's a uprising. I know, to make it relatable, there are a lot of people in acute trauma right now over witnessing a social icon being assassinated on social media. And so people right now are in acute trauma to have seen that, and that they really bought into his narrative and his rhetoric. So this is a sudden death and people are feeling a loss. So when those things happen, our bodies enter into a state of being that assist us, right? So when we think about fight or flight, right? Trauma can cause that in people, and fighting will mean I'm going to stop and I have a constant adrenaline pump. So I wake up and I have this constant adrenaline in me that's making me hypersensitive, hypervigilant. I am constantly aware of what's going on around me. I'm constantly aware of what's happening around me. And then the flight is I shut down and I don't even want to deal with this. I avoid, I shut down, I lock away. So there are many different responses, and trauma can cause many different things within our body. Our cortisone level. Cortisone is there to assist us. Endorphins. Endorphins are there to help us. That's our body's natural morphine levels to help us. So trauma can cause a lot of things to happen in our body that can later on impact us medically. And I know that was a long-winded answer.
Oh, no. Not a long-winded answer at all. That's very informational. I'm over here taking mental notes right now. So
yeah, so it does impact us. It causes a lot of our hormonal things that go on within us to either heighten or lessen, and those things impact us medically. I mean, there is even a renewed interest in the area of epigenetics that shows that trauma can cause parts of our genetic encoding to change in the sense that it is muted. That actually epigenetics says that what is going on within your mother can impact her and cause her to create a baby that genetic encoding has changed within that baby because of her trauma.
Exactly.
So there's this generational trauma that can be inherited through a genetic encoding. So epigenetics is really the muting or the silencing of a gene or a protein or amino acid string on your DNA that can impact you medically.
That makes a lot of sense right there. There are so many people that have dealt with that. Like, they might have not necessarily experienced anything per se traumatic in their immediate early childhood years of life, but just based on the epigenetics of the mother and being passed on, there's an automatic defect, if you will, with that person. Wow.
So, I know that there was a professor and I will remember her name. It's only because I'm thinking about it now, that coined the term post-traumatic slavery syndrome.
Ooh.
And what she said is that the African American community is constantly bombarded and berated for conditions, right? Whether it be social or political conditions, economic conditions that are inherited from generation to generation, right? That's that generational trauma. We find that within the African American community, the high levels of obesity, the high levels of hypertension, the high levels of diabetes, the high level of different medical conditions that could be very well be linked to muted genes within them that was passed down from the trauma of the previous generation. So when people say, well, slavery is over and we're not in slavery today, but epigenetics tells us that while your generations may not be living in the same depraved conditions as our ancestors may have lived in, we still carry genetically the scars and the pain of what our ancestors endured.
I absolutely agree with that 1,000%. I cannot say anything further to even add on to that other than the fact that everything that you just said is absolutely correct. Just for example, using myself, my mother experienced a lot of trauma before I even came into this world. My grandmother and so on and so forth. It's generational. So by the time I came into the world, I'm taking on all of the energy that she carried while pregnant, and then experiencing my own traumas. And that literally is the foundation of a lot of my mental health disorders. Some of them are genetic, and some of them, happened over time. What you said about acute trauma, like some people can experience one event in their life that just changes everything for them.
Absolutely.
For myself, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, constant trauma. It was just a connectivity from early childhood all the way up into adulthood. So it literally changed a lot of things for me. I got diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder. That's genetic too. So I understand exactly what it is that you're speaking of when it comes to that. Let me see. Also, what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen out there listening, we're going to take a quick break and we're getting ready to go into a video. Fight or flight. Check it out.
So this one's for the ones who've been on that mode of fight or flight, trying. I'm frozen to the bone. That's what the psych says. He says my heaviness and darkness is in my soul. He says I'm cold and I'm cold, but he's wrong. I am a soul. So this one's for the ones who've been on that mode of fight or flight, trying to remain alive, living on survival mode. It's a feeling and it'll go away, but it's an addiction to living a life we don't love, preferring to do it all alone, smiling and smiling all along, singing to the wrong song. But today, it's a new day, and we control our fate. This one's for the fighter on fight or flight mode. When you're wondering how to regulate your highs and your lows, we are living in constant state of stress, conditioned to the rush of the arousal, conditioned to addiction, to the emotion, not being able to control the outcome, because we can't predict our future outcome, but we on threat or danger in this outer and inner world we can't see. We're living with TDC, threat, duress, and coercion. We feel the suffocation, so some of us, we turn to meditation, avoiding that detrimental medication. It's like we feel this overwhelming lack of patience. We do realize they want us to be the perfect patient. It's our brain and body not in homeostasis. This one is for the ones who've been on that mode of fight or flight, trying to remain alive, living on survival mode. It's a feeling and we know it will go away, but it's an addiction to living a life we don't love, preferring to do it all alone, smiling and smiling all along, singing to the wrong songs. But today, it is a new day, and we control our fate. Fight or flight affects our nervous system. Enormous energy and resources are placed on the wrong images and mindsets. Our organism perceives danger, alternating a rush of adrenaline. Fight or flight, my heart rate increases, my energy decreases, pupils dilate, salivary juices can't control my respiration. Time to fight. Time to hide, unbalanced, seeking to regenerate. But today I continue to speak to the fighter in me, no longer in solitude, but living in gratitude. No need of fight or flight, just taking it a bit easy. Truly receiving the joy in my life, my joy for existence, having appreciation, celebrating my kindness when I know we all can change the way we think. Fight or flight, I speak to my body, my environment, and I'm kind to my time. No need to get back to the familiar or the highly analytical, over-focused state. Just changing the scenario. And I never realized my addiction to my state of fight or flight. I was addicted to a life I didn't even like. Whether it was a relationship, despicable relatives, that cutthroat co-worker. I was addicted to a life I didn't even like. I say rise, speak up, be brave. Don't let no one ruin your day. No one ruin your life. It's your life. You change your fate. So this one's for the ones who've been on that mode of fight or flight, trying to remain alive, living on survival mode. It's a feeling and I know it'll go away. It's an addiction to living a life we don't love, preferring to do it all alone, smiling all along, singing to the wrong songs. But today is a new day. We control our fate. I'm Dr. Poetry, and you're not alone. Fight or flight.
Wow, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Oh yeah, that hit different every time. Ah man, so many different parts to that just stood out to me. Like addicted to a life that I didn't even like. Resonates so deeply for me, especially because you don't even realize while you're in the midst of going through the shit that you're dealing with, that it's affecting you in the ways that it's affecting you until you're completely out of it, and then you have that time to reflect, like, oh.
And the society we live in, we victim blame, right?
Yes.
We victim blame. We blame people for feeling what they feel, right? So I think that was so moving for me, and it just sat with me to hear the description of the pain that the body feels, right? So the body, I always like the term, your body will keep the score.
Oh, yes.
Your body will keep the score. What you don't release mentally and emotionally, and you feed and you hold in, your body will keep the score. So when I hear feeling the cold in your bones, that's real.
It is.
That is real.
It absolutely is.
There are many people who are living out medical conditions because there are people who have swallowed their emotions because or their experiences, because if I say this hurts, what are we told as children, especially in certain communities? We don't have time for hurt. We don't have time for pain. We have to survive. So we don't have time to tend to the needs. And those are the learned. That's the learned behavior part of trauma, right? No one has ever helped me process my thoughts, my emotions. So I pass that on to my child. You don't get to talk about your hurt and you're afraid, and this is painful, so I swallow it, and it turns into a bodily pain. It turns into something physical, like fibromyalgia, where my body now is going to overreact to everything because you didn't allow me to talk, to express, to let out. So now my body had to swallow that. And now it is oversensitive and overreactive.
I absolutely agree with that right there. That is one thing that is like rarely talked about. And if it is, it's always constantly dismissed. Being from different ethnic backgrounds, that you don't have no feelings. You're not depressed. You're not stressed. Oh, go be quiet. Oh, be stressed about going in there to do them dishes. You ain't got no feelings yet. You be all right.
Right.
I think that's messed up. And like I'm thankful to be in, this day and age now at 37, having my own children, to where I had to literally unlearn a lot of those teachings because all it taught me was pain.
Right.
And now I'm dealing with my own physical pains. I don't necessarily know if I have fibromyalgia or not. I've never been tested. But I've been having aches and pains ever since I was probably a teenager.
And one thing that is prominent within our community, African American women are at least 7 times more likely to present with autoimmune diseases. And autoimmune diseases, again, goes back to my immune system. Instead of helping my body, my immune system is now attacking my body.
Yo.
So we end up with lupus. We end up with rheumatoid arthritis. We end up with Crohn's disease. We end up with multiple sclerosis. We end up with Graves' disease. And any autoimmune disease is your immune system is now attacking yourself. Because, again, I have internalized some pain. I've internalized some rejection. I've internalized abandonment. I've internalized it. It belongs to me. It's something about me. It's something that I have done wrong. It's something that I am not good enough about. And then you have the social stressors, living in America as a woman of color, especially now in our current atmosphere, the traumas of seeing families torn apart.
Oh yeah.
Because of statuses, whether we, people have an opinion on whether it's wrong or right. That is a community that is experiencing trauma. And those are abandonment, those are rejection, those are all feelings and emotions that, if not dealt with, can turn into something medical. Like you said, I'm having symptoms, I'm having symptomology. And what do we do? When we talk about the DSM-5, which is the the psychological Bible, and then when we talk about the medical terminology, what we've done is we've taken symptoms and we've taken characteristics and we've put a label on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we say, if you're sleeping too much, or you're tired, or you're feeling achy or pain, or you're sad, oh, we know those symptoms. That's depression.
Depression. Mm-hmm.
But that can easily be chronic fatigue. That
Mm-hmm.
can easily be, another mental health issue, or that can easily be a medical expression of something that's going on with me physically. So, and that's what illnesses is. Illnesses is a combination of symptoms and characteristics that we present with. And the society we live in, we need to label it. So we label it because in our heads, we believe if I label this that's going on with me, I can then treat it. And in some situations, that's absolutely correct. That is correct.
Absolutely. I agree with that 1,000%. When it comes to situations like that, especially like with dealing with trauma, childhood or adult trauma, it's a lot of gaslighting that happens in like the medical professions when it's a situation to where your symptoms get disassociated. And in the top, I think 3, fibromyalgia, lupus, and what's the other one? I can't think of it right now, but one of the most gaslit diagnoses, because there's no physical representation of pain. They're not seeing any physical ailments. They say it's in your head. They say, oh, well, we're doing all the blood work. We're doing all the testing and everything. Nothing is showing up. But I'm literally experiencing these physical pains, mental strains, emotional depression, whatever the situation may be, fatigue, and it's constantly dismissed. And that needs to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have health issues, please go get that assessed and continue to advocate for yourselves. It is very important to do so.
And it's very important that our community self-advocate, because even when you control for socioeconomic status, meaning even if you have a certain level of education, a certain level of money, and access to some of the best healthcare, when you control for that, once again, brown and black people in America are constantly, like you said, gaslit into believing nothing is wrong with you. We have the highest, black women have the highest mortality rate when it comes to birth. We give birth and we have the highest, again, controlling for socioeconomic status. I mean, we consider, what is the tennis player's name? Is it Serena or?
I think it's Venus.
Serena Williams had a baby. She had a baby, and when she had the baby, she was in a lot of pain. Well, her nursing staff and doctors kept dismissing it as, this is natural, this is normal. It was her husband, who was a white man, that had to really advocate and get very upset with the medical staff to say, no, my wife said she's in pain. This needs to be taken seriously. And it was found that she had a blood clot that needed to be treated. And had that blood clot gotten loose, she could have died.
Exactly.
And this is a very prominent woman. But when it comes to certain medical conditions, we are treated as though it is in our head. We are dismissed and told that, it's probably nothing. So I agree with you. I think there needs to be some advocacy and persistence on our part to take care of ourselves, to demand medical attention, and to say, I am not leaving until you give me this blood test. I don't care if my insurance needs a reason. The reason is I'm in distress. And that is why you have to give me this blood test.
Absolutely. Shout out to that. Shout out to everybody out there listening in and watching. And we thank you for your feedback. Also, call in, leave messages. If you ever want to be a guest on the show, definitely check us out. And if you would like to, be able to come up here one day and even talk with Dr. Michelle, we might be able to.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
Yes.
God.
We're going to go into a quick commercial break and go into Poetic Confessions.
Awesome.
I was the last to be born. My big eyes scared you. You sensed my power when you surgically closed your womb, and yet I still was conceived. I came through without any labor pain. I was immediately a loss for you and not a gain. A few days old, you broke Dad's windshield. He had another woman pregnant, and you were torn, scorned, bitter. So I was the kitten taken out the litter, given to the Avon lady to feed and nourish while you recuperated from your narcissism. And I love you, Madrina, for your love and guidance. You, I will always cherish. Why was I the one to be given away for a few years while you figured out life? Life. You were figuring out life with broken bones, black and blues, and bloody tears. Why do you hate me so much? Am I the reminder of a love that never was but lust behind a matrimony prohibited cause Dad never gave a fuck? So many times you beat the trust out of me, the peace out of me, the confidence out of me. I watched you wash bloody scissors to tell me don't open the door for no one, not even NYPD. Secrets I never understood, I couldn't grasp. But when I swallowed every pill at 13, you thought I was on dope. So I received slap after slap after slap, that graduation ring on your finger, slap after slap, slap after slap. You dragged me through the floor after being released from the hospital as they pumped my stomach in ICU. I hated being me, cause I was never good enough for you. And you who attempted to throw me out of a 15th floor window and throw my face in scorching oil frying chicken wings, you couldn't process why I tried to kill myself after all the dysfunction I witnessed in 680 Tinton Avenue, apartment 15A, watching Ruby, my stepdad, kill a man on self-defense, walk into the precinct to bring you Parliament cigarettes in my pastel pink butterfly barrettes. I was scared. I was sick. I was fighting and flying in misery, breaking out of a child into a woman, first responding to your self-destructive beginnings and endings. My brain stopped sending messages to my nerve, discombobulating my whole operating system. Yes, my nerves were discombobulating my whole operating system. And now everything I touched in that home, man, I broke everything. Cause now I'm nervously moving in a fearful environment. Nothing is making sense. Cause I dream of my name carved in cement. Cause the worst thing to feel is a mother's hatred when you couldn't even show up to my high school graduation. Forgetting my 16th birthday. I was locked out the apartment on prom night. I was late. You fucked up every important life event. On my wedding day, you walked in and asked, how do I look? Overlooking me in my white, beautiful, lacy wedding gown with Swarovski crown. Oh my God. But Mom, I wanted to be your daughter that made you, super proud. I was that daughter that wanted to make you super proud. But all you did was criticize and put me down. But today, all those feelings have been drowned, burned, evaporated into the wind because the older version of younger me has risen from the ashes. I healed. I'm enlightened. And younger me, I'm protecting her. I became a cop to be what I needed when I was my younger me. A child in disbelief that parents, they can be the poison, the venom, obliviously creating trauma, unnecessarily sadness. My younger me forgives you for not being emotionally intelligent while attempting to mold me. Mommy, Josie always said I was super intelligent, beyond my time, and you repeated often that I was extremely talented. And for that, I will continue to walk in gratitude. You saw me in what you wanted to be. You saw in me what you wanted to be. And I saw fear in your eyes when you attempted to beat the soul out of me. I didn't blink, and something in me ticked. My eyes didn't flinch. I disassociated and broke the generational curse that ties me to all of that. I broke the links, walking with my head up high. I am convinced I am beautiful. I am intelligent. I am worthy. I am adequate. I am enough, regardless of your destructive, tough love. I'm Dr. Poetry.
Ooh, that hits every time. Oh, I think you're on mute. We having technical difficulties with the sound. Do you see down at
Okay,
the
I
bottom?
went ahead and unmuted. I think I was muted, but I went ahead and unmuted. I sit with that. I sit in that space. That was
Yeah.
a very therapeutic space. So I sit there with that.
Yeah. That was a lot. It was a lot of layers to that. Shout out to Dr. Poetry for putting that piece together. It's a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. It's a lot of layers of frustration, but yet love still for her mother. And I think that that's dope. It's hard to process. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to grow up with my mom, so I didn't really get that, maternal instinct per se from her. But I dealt with some of those situations that she was describing from other female relatives. So commend you for doing that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Beautiful. Whew.
Like I know I'm sitting in that space with it, I'm sitting in that and as I was telling Dr. Poetry, words have vibration. So I'm sitting in that vibration. Like I'm really feeling that. Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. And then another thing that is rarely spoken when it comes to specifically poetry and anything for that matter, the level of empathy that people have. A lot of people can't take in and resonate feeling another person's pain. And I'm feeling it. You're feeling it. I'm sure the listeners are out there feeling it. It's heavy, but it's understandable though.
Yes. And it's that empathy, right? It's that ability to feel, like you said, someone else's experience and join them. There's a therapeutic term in therapy that says that we have joined her. We're joining in her and sitting in that space with her, which lends strength to her, and it will also strengthen us. Yeah. So it's that empathy. We're feeling that empathy, like you said, to be in a space with someone who, in the face of everything that they have experienced, that they're able to see their victimizer as also a victim, right? That you are victimizing me because you are also a victim of your own circumstances, and you are taking out on me something that I represent to you. So it's an exchange between a survivor of abuse understanding the perpetrator and lending to them a level of grace and forgiveness, which does not excuse the behavior, but to say, I understand why you did what you did to me. And it wasn't that I wasn't good enough. It was because you're a broken person.
Right there. That right there. Big facts.
And that begins the healing, coming down to the end when she says, but I am enough. I am great. I am good enough because I'm able to process that your abuse was less about me and more about you.
The breakdown. Yes, ma'am.
And that begins the healing process. That begins, I am retraining my brain to think about me differently because I can now understand my abuse from an objective level.
looking at it from an entirely different perspective instead of being in that seat of like actually experiencing the trauma at that time, being able to
You've
evolve past that.
internalized it, right?
Yeah.
You've internalized it. I am not good enough. I am a terrible person. I do not meet your needs. I'm ugly. I'm unwanted. And then when you can say it, it's none of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I am perfect how I am. But this abuse of me is because you are in pain.
Mm-hmm.
You are hurting. You have unresolved issues, and your only way to cope is to abuse. So I now have taken my abuse out of me and put it outside. It is not me that is broken and that is terrible. It is this situation. It is you, because I am good enough. So I've now dissected and created surgery in me and took out of me this thing that is hurting me, holding me, killing me, and I'm taking it out of me. And that's a daily thing. You know, when I hear Dr. Poetry read her poetry, it's, you know, and to sit with it and to feel it, I can imagine that it is a daily reminder to get up and say, I am good enough.
Those affirmations. Mm-hmm.
I am good enough. Today, I am good enough. In this moment, I am good enough. I have everything I need to be successful today. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great breakdown. And to add on to that, I have a question. Just based off of that poem and any other situation that applies to life revolving childhood trauma, abuse, etc. Do you feel like those situations in particular have a connectivity to trauma bonding with others based on the abuse?
Absolutely. And I think I think a lot of young people are trauma bonding, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of young people trauma bonding, and we have termed it twin flames.
Ooh,
And we are soulmates, and we just vibe on this level. And really what it is this emotional connection that has occurred, right? You know, it's like that serotonin has gotten excited, that oxytocin has, you know, you make butterflies in my stomach and I'm in love. And now I have chemically, literally, right? So trauma bonding is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
People have chemically bonded. They have now become codependent
Ooh.
on one another, right? Mm-hmm. That my day will get messed up when
without
you have a messed up day, right? Mm-hmm. So there's codependency, and now it becomes a problem because I need you in a certain space to normalize what I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us can get healthy because healthy means we're not soulmates anymore.
Ooh.
Healthy means you're leaving me behind.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy means, what do you mean you can't do? You got to do this with me. We have to be unhealthy because we bonded during a traumatic event, during a traumatic time. And we, you know, to be honest with you, siblings can trauma bond.
Absolutely.
Right? So communities can trauma bond, right? Mm-hmm. When we, you know, I know when I was in college, the big thing for a lot of us is when I go back home, I don't fit in anymore because I trauma bonded with my community. Now, when I go back to my community and I'm expressing and I'm talking about healthy ways of being and healthy ways of coping, oh, you think you better than me?
Mm-hmm.
Because we trauma bonded as a community. And now you're talking about healthy living and healthy coping. And I don't want that responsibility because what I'm in is comfortable. What I'm in is familiar. And healthy living means I now become responsible for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, trauma bonding is a real thing. It is a very real thing. It can happen between the opposite sex with lovers. It can happen with siblings. It can happen in communities.
Absolutely.
And we bond over a struggle because we needed each other to get through this. We needed each other to survive this hardship. And when one person wants to break away and say, this no longer works, this hurts me, this is paining me, then that is the tearing of a relationship. And it, unfortunately, we see with lovers, it can turn into violence. And with family members, we can stop talking to each other because you think you're better than me. You think you've arrived. And really what it is me saying, this no longer works for me. There's got to be something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that 1,000%. And I feel like a lot of the youth today, and not even just the youth, just different people, once you've experienced a certain level of trauma, you find yourself cultivating and gravitating towards people that are relatable. So once you find that person, oh my God, you went through childhood trauma, oh, you were abused, oh, you went through this, you went through that. You find that bond with that person, and in your mind, you're thinking, this is the love of my life. This is my other half. And it's
they understand me.
There's automatically a connection.
Yeah. And then there's a codependency.
Yep.
And then and it's usually women who are the pleasers. I want to please you.
Oh my God.
Because I want your approval. Your approval of me means you validate my existence.
Ooh.
And if you do not approve of me, therefore I am not valid.
I'm not worthy.
Women that will find themselves, men do it too, but that's codependency, right? That's the codependency. I need you to validate my experience.
Absolutely. And that comes from childhood trauma, that seeking of validation. If you were not taught as the foundation of your upbringing to be validated or to learn how to self-validate and advocate for yourself, you'll find yourself going towards the direction of looking to please others, being a people pleaser. And then on top of that, you're just putting yourself out there and you're just taking all a bunch of abuse and becoming somebody else's personal emotional punching bag.
Right. So when you take away a child's inherent worthiness, so you are worthy simply because I have faith in Yahweh. I have faith in Yeshua. So my belief is the fact that you have beaten millions of other beings to get here, you have an inherent worthiness. And when you take that from a person and you take that from a child, we will seek validation. We will seek it. We will seek validation. That is promiscuity that occurs when young girls are sexually molested. They are validated that sex makes me wanted and useful. And so promiscuity is less about sex and more about validation, more about I am worth something. So, I mean, how many of us have been guilty of saying, oh, that little hoe around the corner and she sleep with everybody? But that is a broken girl because this is less about sex for her and more about, will somebody love me? Because I've been taught that sex means I have something that a man wants. And if I have sex, that means I'm wanted in that moment. And so promiscuity is layered in that way that when you find a young lady or a woman, or even when you deal with sexual addictions is less about the sex and the kinkiness and more about validation, worth, self-worth.
Oh, I'm having therapy in here today. I feel like I'm on the couch. Yes.
And again, it's the behaviors, right? It's the behaviors that we observe, right? And people pleasing also causes medical conditions. So people pleasing, a lot of time people pleasers feel like because I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, there's that autoimmune disease again. There's that body turning on itself. Certain cancers, people believe cancers appearing in certain parts of your body. One of the things people say is cancer of the liver means that there is this unforgiveness because the liver produces bile being that acid or that bitterness. So there's a bitterness in me. I haven't released. I haven't forgiven. People believe breast cancers for women are related to being hurt and rejected by their lover. So it occurs in their breast area. So there is a body of research and a body of thought and the theoretical and what I call the anecdotal collection of information that connects medical conditions to my emotional functioning.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense right there. The breakdown, it's phenomenal. Yes.
So there's a lot of anecdotals, and it's not a new body of research at all. This has gone back centuries, but we live in a time where, because of the hypothesis theories, is that unless you can prove something, then we won't believe it exists. And it would be unethical to take a perfectly normal child and put them in a traumatic situation and a healthy situation. But we don't even have to do that. We can study it and we can see it. And then this goes back to victim blaming, right? This goes back to certain communities have a better advantage over other communities because historically and politically they have had the privileges that comes along with being a certain ethnic group or a certain socioeconomic group, while other communities have not had those abilities. They're starting at a disadvantage because, as Dr. Poetry just read, my mother's pain caused me pain. And I'm sure when we dig into mom's pain, her pain came from her mother's pain or her father's pain. So now we have learned behaviors, environmental situations, genetic predispositions. When we consider epigenetics together, now we're fighting a lot of things.
It's a lot in the balance.
We're fighting our spiritual, our connection to God, our connection to the Most High Yah. We're fighting to feel this connection. But if I'm depressed and I'm tired and I'm hurting, my connection is blocked. And now my body is hurting. And now I don't have good nutrition. And now mentally and emotionally I'm blocked. So that's one thing in Prayer and Prozac that we take a look at. We don't want to just treat your emotions and your mental. We want to treat your spirit. We want to talk about your body. We want to talk about nutrition. We want to talk about medical visits. We want to talk about meditations. We want to talk about working out. We want to talk about how my body can affect my mood and my emotions, and thus my spirit.
Absolutely. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that you guys are doing what you do when it comes to making those connections with not just the mental state of mind, but also the spirit, the physical of everything, because it all works. It's all a system.
It all works together. It's that balance, right? My spirit is my connection to the Most High, my creator, right? My body is this physical dimension that I'm in, and my emotion and my mind is what exists inside of me. It's how I interpret what's going on in this dimension. It's how I express what I am going through in this dimension. And I always tell people, we hear the word peace, right? That for me is what we all seek. We seek peace. But when we break down that word peace, peace comes from the word shalom. Shalom being a Hebrew word. Shalom means peace, but it's more than just peace. Shalom means wholeness. When we are whole and when we are balanced, we are at peace.
There you go. Absolutely. Let me see. We got another question on board. Based on everything that you just said, do you feel like it's a situation to where, like, when a person experiences, like, whether it be acute or like a complex trauma type of situation, that they find themselves in the predicament of either pleasing their mothers or fathers to the point that they're overachieving and overworking themselves just to show up and be validated. Is that a situation like
Absolutely. So the seeking of validation is, all of us wants to be validated, right? Children look for it, right? You know, you think about yourself when your child is doing something, you know, weird, and you know they're balancing, they're walking a fine line on the sidewalk, and they're like, "Mommy, look at me, look at what I'm doing," and you're like, "Baby, that's so wonderful. Look at you. You're just mommy's little balancer." So
Of course.
yeah, you know, so you know, it's inherent. You can look at babies, right? You can look at children are always looking to please their caregiver because we're born with this inherent desire to be loved, to be cuddled, to be held, to feel like we're wanted, to feel like we belong somewhere. When you take that away from a child, and it's one of my theoretical perspective, is what I call attachment theory and attachment therapy. When you take that away from the child, that person can then enter into what we call an attachment crisis. Those children can either be anxious attachment, or there is avoidant attachment, or there is avoidant anxious attachment, right? Most men become avoidant attachment. So when you'll hear people say, "He's so emotionally unavailable," that is flag number one for me. And I am already wondering what was so unsafe for him that he has to emotionally make himself unavailable. What has happened in his life or her life, but I mostly find men to be avoidant.
Yes.
But yes, when you have endured a level of rejection, a level of abandonment, and you have internalized that there is something broken or wrong about me, there are many different ways to go. And one of those ways are, some people say, "You know what, forget this. I'm gonna just do what I want to do, and I'm gonna live reckless, and I'm gonna live on edge, and I don't give a damn, and it doesn't matter." You know how they say bad attention is better than no attention. So there are some kids that will engage in, you know, doing whatever they want to do because they're getting attention. And then there are some kids we call the goody two shoes, right? They are so good and they're achieving and they want to do well. And, you know, we find that in a lot of codependent families. We find that in a lot of children who are being raised in parents who are addicted to alcoholism. I like the book, Melanie Beattie's book, The Child of an Alcoholic. And one of the things that she mentions in her book is that need to win the favor of my parent, because I felt so ignored and I felt that I was never validated, that I want to achieve and I want to become. And I'll be honest with you, if I, you know, since this is a safe space and I'm feeling the space to say that I think a part of my level of achievement in my family, I believe I'm the only one that I know of in my mother's family to have achieved a level of have a doctorate, which is less than 1% of people in the United States. And that for me was something I wanted to do. And I think part of that was because, you know, growing up in that family, my mother's family, there was a certain level of rejection because of who we were. And I was going to show everyone that I would achieve. I was going to show that I am good enough, so I'm going to get a degree. And then I'm not going to stop at a bachelor's. I'm going to get a master's because I'm better than you. And I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to get a doctorate. And then there's at some point that you have to stop and say, wait a minute.
What am I doing this for?
Right? Who am I? Because listen, I got a whole lot of debt. I got a whole lot of debt trying to prove to somebody that I'm something. So I think it does happen. I think oftentimes we have to stop and take inventory about what this means to me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to the Most High Yah because I feel like this is my life's work, right? And I feel certain degrees has given me a seat at the table to represent communities, because representation matters.
Absolutely.
I believe it has given me a seat at the table to represent a community of people that would not normally have a voice at that table. So while my desire to achieve may have been born out of the validation that you are someone, which you may never get, because I recently had an interaction with one of my mother's brothers, and he mocked that I would be a doctor.
Wow.
What he said to me was, "You a doctor? That must be fake. That must not be real. It must not be from a real university." So then we have to think about that. It goes back to what I said. The brokenness is not me.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I have reached the 1%er club,
Mm-hmm.
and it still was not good enough to prove to someone, but that person is a broken someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if I stood on my head and I juggled with my toes and performed tricks. The issue is not Michelle.
It's that other person.
Michelle is inherently worthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worthy from the time I was born. I just happen to have a doctorate degree. I just happen to have a PhD. But that doesn't make my worth. But my pursuit of it meant that, you were going to look and you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter to them because it's not you that's broken. It's them.
Exactly. And then you learn to get comfortable with yourself and understanding who you are as a person without seeking that exterior validation anymore.
I'm inherently worthy. And that was my mantra, which brings me to this point of talking about the retraining of our brain. And that is a part of trauma.
Yes.
Right? Trauma affects my view of the world, the lens of how I experience the world. Those are my triggers, right? So I remember telling my current husband, I divorced and I'm newly married. So my husband and I have to go through this period, right, of learning one another. So we're like 4 or 5 years in. And one of the things that I had to help him understand about me is, if we are arguing, you getting in the car and leaving, that's a problem for me.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. Okay. Big trigger for Michelle. So trauma does color our world. And a action from someone. And for him, listen, baby, I'll be back, but I need to clear my space. And I didn't see it that way. I'm automatically being triggered into, this man about to leave me.
Abandonment.
This he leaving me in the midst of an emotional breakdown. And for him, I need my space to regroup. And I'm like, no. You can't have your space to regroup. No,
I need you right here, right now. We need to talk.
Layla, you need to sit in this space while I break down. You need to take this abuse. But trauma does impact our perspective and our reality, and that perspective and that reality speaks to us. So why Dr. Poetry, as well as you, Miss Cheesecake, use words to heal? It is very meaningful because words form and inform our world, right? So from the spiritual perspective, God said, the Most High Yah said, let there be light. He spoke it. Our words are powerful.
Absolutely.
So when we are survivors, and I like the word survivors, when we are survivors of trauma, what we have to do is use our words to retrain our brains.
Absolutely.
And a part of that is, the Bible also said it, whatsoever a man thinks, so is he. Whatever I think, I am. If I am a survivor, I am a survivor. If I am worthy, because I think it, I am worthy. If I am good enough, because I think it, that's what I am.
Absolutely.
So we have to use our words. We call it, what is it? Affirmations. But I always tell people the Bible said it first. What I think, what I confess, I am.
That's right.
So we have to use our words to retrain our brain. I am inherently worthy. Outside of this label, of this name that I have, I am worthy. I'm already worthy. Because I am alive, I am worthy. A homeless person is worthy.
Absolutely.
Because they are alive. And we have to use words to retrain our brain. It's called neuroplasticity. And there was a thought that we could not retrain our brain. There was a thought that when we reached a certain age, neural pathways are set. Well, it is not. Modern research shows that your brain is so dynamic that if there is a traumatic brain injury, your brain is set up to live. It will create new pathways for you. And that's what happens when you use your words. You are creating new neural pathways in your brain. And that goes to that physical body, medical part of it, that I will use my mind. You know, there is a large movement that your mind can heal your body, because there is a powerful thing to be said about what I think about myself. And again, what I think, I'm using my words. Words are very important. So I bless you all. I am so grateful to be on a platform that uses words to express and create and to destroy and to challenge and to pull down. And I pray that you all will understand the magnitude of words.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with everything that you just said. And we thank you so much for being here, because I'm learning today. Okay. We is learning up in here.
And I thank you all too, because I'm finding a sense of healing in the poetry. I'm really just sitting in that space, and I'm really thanking the Most High for survivors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Would you have, oh, wait a minute, we got some stuff going on right here. Whoa, jumping around. Do you like Dr. Joe Dispenza? I'm not sure who that is.
I have never heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, but if you know, I can, if he has written some books or have a body of research, I can definitely look into it. I have studied Dr. Mateo Gabor, who is a Canadian physician that has written extensively on trauma and addictions.
Okay.
So I have followed that body of research.
Okay. All right, let me see.
Oh, he does. He speaks on the rewiring of the brain. Okay, great. So I'll look into that. And I'll read his research. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, okay. What was going to be my next question? Oh, okay. So to add on to what you just said, as far as like rewiring the brain and the neural pathways and stuff like that, when people said that it's not a possibility to do so, it very much so is. And the example that you used was traumatic brain injury. That I know personally, because my son has traumatic brain injury. He had an injury at 2.
Oh,
and
wow.
they were saying that he wasn't going to walk, talk, do anything. This boy is over 6 feet tall, plays basketball.
That's right.
You know, thank God to that. You know, God has the final say at the end of the day.
That's right.
So, you know, I'm seeing him flourish in everything that he does. Yes, he does have his challenges.
Right.
But he surpassed everything that they said that he was not going to do.
And the beautiful thing about it, and this is why I stand on we are inherently worthy, is that the Most High in all his majesty has created this body to live,
Facts.
to survive, that our brains are so dynamic, like you said, it will rewire itself to live. And the mental and emotional part of it is when we are in hard spaces mentally and emotionally, we go into what we call defense mechanisms.
Yes.
Defense mechanisms are there to help us survive.
That's right.
Because what our psyche is saying is, girl, I got to shut down so you can get through this.
We need some rest.
And a lot of times we see children of sexual abuse have dissociated from their bodies, because what I'm going through is so terrible mentally and emotionally. I've got to detach my psyche from my body to get through this. We see many people who are survivors of sexual assaults will say, I just detached. I just mentally went somewhere. And it's not just sexual abuse. People of physical abuse, right? People who are being tortured, people who are being, living in certain areas. Defense mechanisms are in place to help our psyche survive. We were born to live and survive, and our bodies will do that at any cost.
Absolutely agree with that. 1,000%.
And sometimes that can turn into chronic medical illnesses when the body is overloaded.
Absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense for like a person to like go through like extensive forms of trauma. There's going to be a reaction to that inflammation of trauma overload.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What was my question? Oh, yes. So when it comes to trauma and like the disassociating, hypervigilance and things of that nature, do you feel like with the information that or whatever it is that you might, come to mind, that there's a connection between hypervigilance and dementia or Alzheimer? Is there some form of a connection with the three?
There's absolutely, and there's always this, so there's always this wiring, right, that goes on in the brain. And I know dementia is a form of inflammation. It is a neurological condition, right, that impacts your certain parts of your brain. The gray matter is deteriorating, and that is that inflammation part of it. We're finding that more people within our community, the African American community, is being impacted by dementia. And again, that goes to our diet, right? It goes to stress, chronic stress, the inability to do, or not inability, but the challenging, the way we live. And the challenging us to be when we're hypervigilant, or we are in situations where we must take note of everything, or there's insomnia and there's not enough resting. So dementia and Alzheimer's is definitely something that is being more prevalent, but particularly more in certain communities. And it is a part of inflammation. It does also have its ties in trauma, its ties in chronic stress. So it does have its ties in those areas, in those spaces.
Okay, that makes sense. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to get into Dr. Poetry's fibromyalgia. We'll be right back.
Interrupting the order. So it came into my life, disrupting the order, my order, widespread pain, fatigue, moody,
can't even get to sleep. Amplified painful sensations. Something about my brain and the spinal cord seems like it's having some painful signals. No processing, you know? They say trauma, surgery, psychological stress causes this, but oh, it's so painful. And I'm just wondering how that pain could cut like a twisted knife. There's no metaphor that can capture that. I feel. And I'm supposed to continue fighting on because, you know, I'm Wonder Woman. Got a heart of steel. But this is like poison coursing through my veins. A hidden monster. And I get this feeling that is trying to drive me insane. The agony is never ending. I mean, it makes me feel invisible, really. I'm not invisible, but the pain looks invisible. The pain is real. It's so real. And it's aching deep. And it's all that I could possibly feel. And all these noises, loud noises, they pierce like a dagger's blow in the sunlight. Oh, I love the sunlight, but it blinds me. It blinds me. The light hurts my eyes, and it's a painful show. And they say I'm blinded by stress, by my vision's a little blur, and this pain is like a dagger. It's so hard to endure. Fibromyalgia. It's a constant fight. It's called the invisible pain, and it's like a little thief in the night, you know? A thief in the night. A thief in the night. And the torture I face, it's like someone's killing me again and again and again. And every sound, a dagger right through my heart. I feel the pain in the vein, and it's hurtful. And it makes me sad, you know? I get down. 'Cause you gotta be Wonder Woman. It's like every sound, I keep saying it's like a dagger through my heart. And if someone's tearing my world apart, you're so evil. I'm Dr. Poetry.
That was beautiful. Dope breakdown.
Yeah.
Taking it in.
Yes. Sitting in that space.
Mm-hmm. Snap, 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 snap. Yes.
Yeah. What the kids do on TikTok?
Right. Copy. Yes. That's a beautiful breakdown, as well as an inside look on what fibromyalgia, the experience is for her.
Yes.
And it's for a lot of different people that might not necessarily speak about what it is that they're experiencing. So for those that, you know, are out there and they do have fibromyalgia, or you suspect that you might, go get tested.
Yes.
Go get tested. Because you are not wrong with the understanding of your body. It's your body. You know what you got going on inside of you. And it is important for you to continuously advocate for yourself because ain't nobody going to do it but you.
Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Fibromyalgia. Well, speaking of fibromyalgia, hold on, let me go to my notes. Gotta pull out the handy dandy notebook. Where you at, buddy? Okay. All right. So, like I said, I don't personally know for sure if I have fibromyalgia, but due to the amounts of extensive trauma, mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, all different levels of trauma from childhood into adulthood, I still have yet to have been tested for it. I've went to the doctors and complained and about different aches and pains, and they've literally done X-rays, and we don't see anything. And I'm like, what? But see, this was before I knew anything about fibromyalgia. I just thought, maybe they was tripping, or maybe I was having an off day, or whatever the situation may be. But that pain, lower back pain, sometimes muscle spasms, frozen shoulder. I was like, what is that? I was like, wait a minute, I'm too young to be old right now. I'm up there, but I'm
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Those things can definitely manifest in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely manifest in our bodies. And it's the ability to resolve and to work through and to continually work through, right? So there's not a destination. Healing from those things is not a destination, but it is a constant journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a daily thing, and it's a daily activity, especially
Absolutely.
if that stress continues.
Absolutely agree with that 1,000%. Um, let me see. Well, I have a piece. I'm gonna read live.
Okay, awesome. Come on now, Miss Cheesecake.
Okay, so this is called fibromyalgia. Let me get into my
Yeah.
okay. Fibromyalgia, a chronic condition causing widespread musculoskeletal pain, fatigue, and other symptoms like sleep problems and cognitive difficulties. A widespread of pain coming down like rain against the wheels of life. So much pain and strife, truly taking over your life. They don't believe you when you express pain. Hard to diagnose to the point you start to give up. The cause of it is supposedly unknown, but it's a seed that's planted and properly grown. Trauma, pain, abuse, misuse, aging, of course, but what's the truth? Fibromyalgia, the hidden nostalgia, memories of hurt but constantly blooming like a flower. The gaslighting from medical professionals making you feel like you're extraterrestrial. It's deeper than words spoken out loud. It's a physical pain, a mental game, a heavy spiritual cloud, one of the most misdiagnosed cases. Because of the most part, it's not seen on the surface, so they think you can erase it. It's not just mental. It's not just a neurological disorder. It's physical. It's mental. It's spiritual. Embedded in your soul, sometimes feeling like it's completely out of your control. Deep diving into this painful nostalgia, diving into life with fibromyalgia.
That was beautiful. That
Thank
was
you.
beautiful. Yes. That was beautiful. Yes. Yes. I think you captured it well to talk about that experience. Yes.
Thank you.
Wow. You all are amazing with words. I love it. I love it. I
Y'all
love
like
it.
to hear me out poetry. Woo!
Mhm. I love it. I love the way you all can master words to express an emotion, a journey. That
Absolutely.
was beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So basically in a nutshell, in this entire conversation, what I've gathered, the connection of the childhood trauma, the, you know, developing into possible fibromyalgia, as well as contributing to Alzheimer's is that there is all a connectivity to these different things. Might not be 100%, but there is all different levels of connectivities, and it's mental, it's physical, and spiritual. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. And it really is. And I call trauma that tentacles. It has tentacles that can touch every aspect of your life. And there definitely is a connection between trauma and medical presentations and medical conditions. And for me, the biggest takeaway that I would like our listeners to really understand and to process is that healing begins with, our stories should never be the totality of who we are. I like to tell people we are greater than the sum of our parts.
That's right.
I am greater than every story that has happened to me. It has made me, it has contributed to who I am. And our healing takes place when we decide to take that journey into our own hands and not have it belong to someone else or something else.
Absolutely agree with that. That's a great breakdown right there. Let me see. I think we covered all the videos, and I did my piece. One thing I will say to all the listeners and viewers out there, thank y'all for always listening in and tuning in and giving your feedback, as well as, just being understanding. And the whole purpose of this is to spread awareness. September is Suicide Awareness Month.
Yes.
It's Suicide Awareness Month and week, something else going on in there too. But definitely when you hear people speaking of their problems, their issues or whatever, be a listening ear. But also pay attention to those that are not speaking. Pay attention to those that get a little too quiet. The happy friend, the strong friend. Pay attention to them, because that strength all the time don't be strength. They hold on, but they losing it at the same time. And it's really good for you to, as a friend, as a family member, to reach out to those, your loved ones, whoever it is that you're in association with, just to check in with them, because we need that. Even though we might feel like we got it all together, you don't always. And it's good to have that listening ear, somebody to, show up for you, have consideration for you, and all of that.
And please dial 988. You can text it, you can dial it, and you will have someone available to you. If you are having thoughts of suicide, feel hopeless, we are entering, I always tell people there are two things that goes on in the burr months, right? By the time we hit September, we have less sunlight, which impacts vitamin D, levels of vitamin D. That's another thing. Deficiencies in vitamin D and iron can mimic depression. It's always good to go get your blood work. And if you are low in vitamin D and iron, and you begin to take those vitamins and those minerals, you will see that your mood can improve. Another thing that happens in our burn months is we also enter into festivities. It's a time of year when people get together with families. They celebrate what they call Thanksgiving, what they call Christmas, what they call New Year's. And that can be very emotional for many people. It can be a very lonely time of year for many people. So just stay aware of that. Stay aware of those things. As you said, Miss Cheesecake, stay aware, check in with your friends, especially people who have lost loved ones this time of years. Matriarchs, patriarchs, lovers, children this time of year. Mix that with a lack of sun, especially if you live in those northern states. Just be aware of those things at this time of year. Dial the hotline of 988. There will be someone there to help you, to give you the resources that you need.
That's right. Shout out to that. And shout out to you, Dr. Michelle. I want to thank you so much for being a special guest and sharing your knowledge and wisdom as well as your personal experiences with the world. We thank you so much.
I appreciate the platform. I really do. I thank you all for having me. I thank you all for using this platform for awareness, and using this platform to use your words to create your world.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell the listeners and the viewers where they can find you and your business and everything that you do again, so they can know where to get to you?
Yeah, so I have a small, a small private practice where I do take a few clients to work through, whatever it is that they may be presenting. You can find me at Michelle, MICHELLE, at RHEMA RHEMA is spelled RHEMA consultation. I can also be found on Facebook at Per and Prozac. I have a business partner, Shari Ponder, who is also a licensed professional counselor, as well as a chaplain who does therapy from a spiritual perspective, if you need that to be. So we are excited about our platform on Prayer and Prozac. And we talked a little bit about what our perspective is.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Y'all stay tuned for more. Y'all know y'all can find me on all social media platforms, Miss CHEEZCAKE on everything. Can't talk. The podcast, conversations people aren't ready to have, diving into mental health, relationships, you name it. We talk about it all and we lay it all out on the table. All the poetry is on all streaming platforms, so check it out. With that being said, I thank you again, and I bid you a great evening. Have a great one.
Come on in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. I'm Miss CHEEZCAKE, and you are now in the Poetic Clinic. Let's chat. Come on in, have a seat, kick back, relax, and rest your feet as we dive into the mental avenues you may feel are your defeat. But at the end of the day, it's my treat to have you in my seat as we dive off into the things I like to call a mental feast. Push your pride aside and your emotions in it as we take a ride down to the Poetic Clinic. Let me stamp in your mental passport as we travel to lands beyond. Things that you thought were your last resort, I will help you define and continue to be your support, poetically and prophetically lifting you up, the mental aspects of poetry that overflows your cup, diving into the deeper aspects and channel yourself, healing, feeling, and validating yourself through the mental chemistry, spiritual ministry, and poetry. Right here at the Poetic Clinic, with your favorite dessert, real solid, no debates, with your mental poetic vibes with Miss CHEEZCAKE. Let's dive into the trauma, the pain, resentment, and fear. You might get a few laughs and definitely will shed a few tears. But no worries, I got your back and your front too, as we dive into the psychological passages of what you've been through. So make yourself comfortable, have a seat on the couch, and trust and believe I'll hold your hand through it. And that's a word of mouth with your favorite dessert. Straight to the point, no debates. In the Poetic Clinic with your girl, Miss CHEEZCAKE.